Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Marty stepped out of the time machine, a familiar rush of energy coursing through her body as she readjusted to the present. The garage, with its warm, yellow light, greeted her like an old friend. But something was different. An eerie sense of displacement washed over her as she took in her surroundings. The familiar clutter of her family's garage had a strange, new order to it. A sense of unease settled in the pit of her stomach as she realized something was very, very wrong. What the? She trailed off as her eyes fell upon the pink frilly dress draped over an old chair in the corner. It was a stark contrast to the grease-stained overalls and toolboxes that surrounded it. A shiver ran down her spine as she approached the dress, running her fingers tentatively over the soft fabric. It was then that she noticed the photo, a recent one of herself, smiling with her family. But there was something peculiar about it. The mart in the picture was a woman. "This can't be right," she muttered, shaking her head in disbelief. "I fixed the timeline. How did this happen?" Without wasting another moment, she hurried into the house, an urgent need to speak to an expert on the matter spurring her on. She pulled out her phone, dialing the number of the one person who might be able to offer some insight into this bizarre turn of events. "Dr. Brown?" she said, her voice tight with urgency as the familiar, crackly voice answered on the other end. "I think something's wrong with the timeline. I mean, really wrong. You need to come over now." The anxiety in her voice must have been apparent, because Dr. Brown immediately agreed, promising to be there as soon as possible. Marty paced the garage, her eyes falling again and again on the dress, as if it held some hidden answer. She snatched it up, the feel of the delicate fabric sending a shudder through her. It was so very different from the clothes she usually wore. The idea of wearing it was absurd, and yet there it was, undeniably a part of her new reality. A noise startled her, and she spun around to see Dr. Brown hurrying into the garage, his wild white hair standing on end as always. His bushy eyebrows knitted together in concern as he took in the dress in her hands and the troubled look on her face.
"What's happened, Marty?"
he asked, his voice grave. "I don't know," she replied, frustration creeping into her tone. "I mean, I thought I fixed everything. My family's back to normal, but now—" She gestured helplessly at the dress. Dr. Brown's eyes widened as realization dawned.
"You've undergone a gender shift,"
he stated, his voice soft with sympathy.
"A consequence of altering the delicate fabric of time, I'm afraid."
"But how?" Marty demanded, her voice rising. "I mean, why me? I fixed the timeline. Why am I being punished like this?" Dr. Brown held up his hands in a placating gesture. "It's not a punishment, Marty. It's simply an unintended consequence. Time travel is a complex endeavor, and our actions, no matter how well-intentioned, can have far-reaching effects that we cannot always predict or control." "But this—" Marty gestured angrily at the dress again. "This was not what I signed up for."
"I mean, come on, a frilly dress? This is a nightmare."
Dr. Brown's kind eyes regarded her sadly.
"I understand your frustration, Marty, but sometimes the universe has a way of teaching us lessons we never anticipated."
"Well, I didn't sign up for this lesson," Marty shot back, her frustration getting the better of her. "Can't we just fix it? Go back and change things again?" Dr. Brown shook his head, his expression grim.
"I'm afraid not, Marty. Time travel is not a game, and the more we meddle, the more unpredictable the consequences become. We've already seen the potential disasters that can occur." Marty slumped, her anger deflating as the weight of her new reality sank in. "So what? I'm just supposed to accept this? Live my life as a woman now?"
"It seems," Dr. Brown began carefully,
"that the universe has dealt you a new hand, Marty, and it's up to you how you play it. I know it's not easy, but sometimes we have to embrace the unexpected and make the most of it."
"Easy for you to say," Marty muttered, running a hand through her hair, which now felt strangely foreign to her. "You're not the one dealing with this." Dr. Brown's eyes crinkled with sympathy. No, I'm not. But I can offer you some guidance and perhaps a little perspective. Remember, Marty, you're not alone in this. Others have dealt with similar unforeseen changes. Great, Marty huffed. So now I've got a support group? That's not what I need, Doc. The old scientist held up his hands in a placating gesture.
I'm merely suggesting that you're not the only one facing an unexpected future. Remember Biff, your old nemesis? Marty's eyes widened in surprise. Biff? That bully? What's he got to do with any of this? Doctor. Brown allowed himself a small smile. Well, it seems that Biff, too, has undergone a rather surprising transformation. I believe a visit to your old rival might offer you some solace and perhaps a new perspective. Biff, Marty scoffed. How is that supposed to help? He's probably loving this. Always wanted to be a girl, the perv. On the contrary, Dr. Brown said, his voice steady. Biff is struggling with this new reality just as much as you are, and I believe a conversation with him might shed some light on your shared situation. Fine, Marty relented, her shoulders slumping in defeat. Let's go see the jerk. Maybe he's learned some lessons too. As they made their way to Biff's old haunt, the familiar neighborhood took on a new light in Marty's eyes. It was as if she were seeing it all for the first time, through the lens of her altered self. The walk felt longer, the familiar sights somehow unfamiliar, and Marty's unease grew with every step. Here we are, Dr. Brown announced, his voice breaking into her thoughts as they stopped outside a rundown apartment building. Marty's eyes narrowed as she took in the seedy surroundings. This is Biff's place? Looks like a dump. Appearances can be deceiving, Dr. Brown reminded her gently. Let's see what lessons this place might hold for us. With a sigh, Marty followed Dr. Brown into the building, her heart heavy with trepidation. The interior did little to assuage her fears. Grimy walls and flickering lights added to the air of disquiet that now clung to her. Biff! Dr. Brown called out, his voice echoing slightly in the empty hallway. You in there, old friend? A moment later, the door creaked open, revealing a figure that made Marty's eyes widen in surprise. There stood Biff, or rather, what used to be Biff. Now, a woman with Biff's familiar features and a hesitant smile stood before them. Her eyes, once full of mischief and cruelty, now held a hint of uncertainty and warmth. Hey, Biff said, her voice softer than Marty had ever heard it. Didn't expect to see you two here. Well, Dr. Brown began, his voice gentle. We thought it was time we caught up. It's been a while. Biff nodded, stepping aside to let them in. Yeah, it has. Come on in. Can't say I've been up to much lately, just, adjusting. As they entered the apartment, Marty couldn't help but stare. The place was a stark contrast to the Biff she remembered. Gone were the posters of half-naked women and beer cans strewn everywhere. Now the space was neat and tidy, with soft furnishings and a distinct lack of the macho decor she associated with her old rival. Take a seat, Biff offered, gesturing to the couch. Can I get you anything? I have, tea and cookies? Marty raised an eyebrow, turning to Dr. Brown with a silent, did he just offer us tea expression? Dr. Brown cleared his throat, sitting down and motioning for Marty to do the same. That won't be necessary, Biff. We won't stay long. We just wanted to check in, see how you're doing. Biff's cheeks flushed, and Marty noticed how different she looked. Her features had softened, and her once brash demeanor had been replaced with an air of hesitant friendliness. I'm doing okay, I guess, Biff said, perching on the edge of an armchair, her hands clasped in her lap. It's been, quite the adjustment. I can imagine, Dr. Brown said gently. It's not every day that one undergoes such a profound change. Biff offered a faint smile. Yeah, I never thought this would happen to me. I always felt like I got the short end of the stick in life, but this... She trailed off, shaking her head. But you're handling it, Dr. Brown noted, his eyes keenly observing Biff's demeanor. And that, my friend, is a testament to your strength.
Biff's shoulders lifted in a half shrug.
I guess. I mean, what other choice do I have? Wallow in self-pity. That's not my style.
A ghost of a smile crossed Marty's face at this, and Biff's eyes narrowed as she noticed.
Hey, wait a minute. How come you're so calm about all this? Last time I saw you, you were still your old self.
Marty's smile faded as she realized Biff had seen through her.
Well, I mean, I just... Dr. Brown smoothly interjected. Marty is coming to terms with some recent developments as well, Biff. It seems you two have more in common than you thought.
Biff's eyes widened and she leaned forward, her expression a mix of surprise and curiosity.
No way. You two? But you seem so calm about it.
Marty shrugged, feeling a strange sense of camaraderie with her former enemy.
Calm on the outside, maybe. But inside, it's a different story. I'm freaking out, just like you.
A soft laugh escaped Biff, and Marty was struck by how different it sounded from the boisterous laugh she remembered.
I guess we've both changed, huh? At least now we know what it's like to walk in each other's shoes. Or dresses,
Marty added, her eyes falling to Biff's attire, a simple, flowery sundress. She herself felt strangely out of place in her usual jeans and t-shirt. Biff's cheeks flushed, and she brushed a hand self-consciously over her dress.
Yeah, well, I never thought I'd be caught dead in one of these. But,
she added with a slight lift of her shoulders, it's kind of grown on me.
Really?
Marty asked, unable to keep the skepticism from her voice. You actually like it? Biff met her gaze, her eyes steady. I'm starting to. It's a whole new world, you know? Different feelings, thoughts. I mean, it's not all bad. Marteray brows furrowed, struggling to reconcile this new, sensitive Biff with the bully she remembered. I guess, but it's still a massive change. I mean, it's not like we asked for this.
No, Biff agreed, her voice softening. We didn't. But sometimes life throws us curveballs. It's how we react that defines us. Wise words, Biff, Dr. Brown chimed in. It seems that the universe has presented you with a unique opportunity for growth and self-discovery.
Biff smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes, and Marty sensed the underlying turmoil that still lingered.
Yeah, well, it's a work in progress. Some days are better than others.
I hear that, Marty said, finding herself empathizing with Biff in a way she never thought possible.
It's like we're living someone else's life.
Exactly, Biff exclaimed, her eyes lighting up as she found common ground with Marty for perhaps the first time. That's it precisely. And it's not easy, is it? But, she added, her voice taking on a note of determination, we're still here, standing, fighting. That's got to count for something. Marty felt an unexpected surge of respect for her former adversary. Biff was handling this bizarre twist of fate with a grace and resilience she hadn't expected.
You know, Biff,
Dr. Brown said, his eyes kind.
You and Marty here have been given a gift of sorts. A chance to see the world through different eyes. It's an opportunity many never get.
Biff chewed on this for a moment, her brow furrowed in thought.
A gift, huh? Never thought of it that way. But I guess you're right. It's like we've been forced to step out of our comfort zones and embrace something new.
Precisely, Dr. Brown said, his eyes shining with a mixture of pride and sympathy.
And it's in these moments of discomfort that true growth occurs.
A comfortable silence fell between the three of them, each lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Marty spoke, her voice laced with a mix of resignation and determination.
So, what now? We just keep living these new lives? How do we even begin to adjust?
Dr. Brown offered a gentle smile.
One day at a time, my friend. Embrace the unknown and remember that you're stronger than you know. Both of you have faced challenges before and you've overcome them. This is no different.
Biff nodded, her eyes steady as if drawing strength from Dr. Brown's words.
Yeah, he's right. We take it one step at a time. Learn to love the people we've become, I guess.
Marty couldn't help but smile at the sentiment, feeling a strange sense of camaraderie with her former enemy.
Guess so, but it's still going to take some getting used to.
I mean, where do we even start? With small steps, Dr. Brown advised. Take pleasure in the little things. A new outfit, a different hairstyle. Embrace the changes and see where this new path takes you. Biff stood, her movements full of a newfound resolve.
He's right. We start with the little things. A dress, some makeup, maybe. It's like a costume, a new character to play. We'll take it day by day, figure it out as we go along. Marty rose as well, feeling a surge of determination.
Okay, I can do that, day by day, and maybe, just maybe, we'll end up liking these new selves of ours. Absolutely, Dr. Brown agreed. And remember, I'm always here for both of you. We're in this together. Biff smiled at Marty, warm and genuine, and it struck her that this was perhaps the beginning of an unlikely friendship. Thanks, Doc, and thanks, Marty. It's nice to know I'm not alone in this. Anytime, Biff, Marty replied, surprised to find that she meant it. Looks like we're in the same boat. Might as well sail it together. As they bid Biff farewell and made their way back, Marty felt a sense of peace amid the turmoil. You know, Doc, I think we might actually be able to do this. Dr. Brown smiled at her, his eyes full of warmth and encouragement. I have no doubt, Marty. You and Biff have both faced challenges, and you've grown stronger because of them. This is just another step on your journey. Marty took a deep breath, the weight of her new reality settling more comfortably on her shoulders.
Okay, I can deal with that, day by day, step by step.
Maybe this new me won't be so bad after all.
Indeed,
Dr. Brown said, his voice full of conviction.
And remember, Marty, no matter what the future holds, I'll be here, offering guidance and a friendly ear.
A smile tugged at Marty's lips as she pictured herself navigating this new future with the support of her trusted mentor. Thanks, Doc. Knowing you're here makes all the difference. As they made their way back to the familiar surroundings of her home, Marty felt a sense of trepidation, but also a budding sense of excitement. This new reality was uncharted territory, full of possibilities and potential pitfalls. But with Dr. Brown's guidance and the unexpected companionship of Biff, she knew she had the strength to face whatever lay ahead. The sun was setting as they reached the garage, bathing the familiar space in a golden light that seemed to offer promise and hope. Marty took a deep breath, steeling herself for the road ahead. Well, here we are, she said, turning to Dr. Brown with a mixture of determination and trepidation in her eyes. I guess it's time to start this new journey. Dr. Brown laid a gentle hand on her shoulder, his eyes sparkling with encouragement.
Indeed it is, Marty. But remember, no matter what challenges or surprises lie ahead, you're never truly alone. I'm always here, and Biff, too. We're in this together.
Marty smiled, feeling a surge of gratitude for the steadfast presence of her old friend.
Thanks, Doc. Knowing that makes all the difference.
As the golden light of the setting sun faded, Marty and Dr. Brown stepped into the garage. The familiar space, filled with gadgets and gizmos, seemed to offer a comforting sense of normalcy in the midst of their extraordinary circumstances. So, Doc, Marty began, running her fingers through her longer hair, still unused to the sensation. What's our next move? I mean, we can't exactly go back to how things were before. Dr. Brown nodded, his eyes twinkling with a mixture of curiosity and excitement. Indeed, Marty. We must move forward, embracing this new reality while still holding on to the essence of who we are. Marty plopped down on a nearby stool, her posture betraying her lingering discomfort with her new form. Yeah, but how? It's not like there's a guidebook for suddenly becoming a girl.
Perhaps not,
Dr. Brown mused, stroking his chin thoughtfully.
But then again, there's no guidebook for life itself. We learn as we go, adapting to new circumstances as they arise. Easy for you to say,
Marty grumbled, but there was no real heat in her words. You're not the one who has to figure out how to walk in heels. Dr. Brown chuckled, the sound warm and reassuring. True, but I've had my fair share of challenges. Remember the time I accidentally turned myself invisible? A smile tugged at Marty's lips as she recalled the incident. Yeah, that was pretty wild. You kept bumping into things because you couldn't see yourself. Precisely, Dr. Brown said, his eyes twinkling. And yet we figured it out. This situation may be different, but the principle remains the same. We observe, we learn, we adapt. Marty sighed, her shoulders slumping slightly. I guess. But where do we even start? Dr. Brown's face lit up with enthusiasm. Well, my dear Marty, I believe we start with the basics. Let's make a list of the immediate challenges you're facing and we'll tackle them one by one. All right, Marty agreed, sitting up straighter. Well, there's the whole clothes thing. I mean, I can't keep wearing my old stuff forever, right? Excellent point, Dr. Brown said, grabbing a nearby notepad and scribbling furiously. Wardrobe adjustment. What else? Marty's brow furrowed in thought. I guess hygiene stuff? I mean, there's probably a whole bunch of things I need to learn about taking care of this new body. Dr. Brown nodded, adding it to the list. Very good. Anything else? Social stuff, Marty said, her voice quieter now. How do I explain this to my parents? My friends? The whole town? Dr. Brown's expression softened. Ah, yes, the social implications. That's certainly a significant challenge. They spent the next hour brainstorming, filling the notepad with a list of challenges and potential solutions. As they worked, Marty felt a sense of calm settling over her. Having a plan, even a tentative one, made the situation feel less overwhelming. You know, Doc, Marty said as they reviewed their list, this actually makes me feel a bit better. Like maybe I can handle this after all. Dr. Brown beamed at her. Of course you can, Marty. You've always been remarkably adaptable. This is just another adventure, albeit an unexpected one. Just then, a knock at the garage door startled them both. Marty's eyes widened in panic. Who could that be? Dr. Brown moved to the door, peering through the small window. Well, It's Biff. Marty's heart skipped a beat. Biff? What's she doing here? Dr. Brown opened the door, revealing Biff standing there, looking uncharacteristically nervous. She was holding a small paper bag and shifting from foot to foot. Hey, Biff said, her voice softer than Marty had ever heard it. I hope I'm not interrupting anything. Dr. Brown smiled warmly. Not at all, Biff. Please come in. Biff stepped into the garage, her eyes darting around before settling on Marty. I thought maybe we could talk some more. You know, about all this. She gestured vaguely at herself. Marty nodded, surprised to find herself genuinely glad to see Biff. Yeah, sure. That'd be good. Biff held out the paper bag. I brought some stuff. Thought it might help. Curious, Marty took the bag and peered inside. It contained a small assortment of makeup and a few hair accessories. I figured you might not have any of this stuff yet, Biff explained, her cheeks flushing slightly. And, well, I've been learning how to use it. Thought maybe we could figure it out together. Marty felt a lump form in her throat, touched by the unexpected kindness. Thanks, Biff. That's really cool of you. Dr. Brown clapped his hands together, his eyes twinkling. Wonderful. Why don't you two set up over here? He cleared a space on one of his workbenches. I'll make us some tea. Thanks for watching. Check out Patreon if you want to have early access to the other parts. If not, it will be online in a couple of days.